I was doing an exercise the other day with one of my students, Kai, and it was all about the backhand lob from the front of the court. So I just want to show you his video first, and then we'll use mine and we'll do a bit of a compare and contrast. So I think the biggest thing that I noticed with Kai, let's just have a look at the elevation from his racket towards the front ball where it hits. It was generally hitting around the middle line in around those areas there. And this was the little bit of the problem, that there wasn't much elevation from this part of the court. And look, he's close to the front wall. It's not easy. Like being this close to the front wall, it ain't that easy to get that elevation. Let me just scroll through a few of his. We'll just notice there on that middle line. We'll go to the next one. It gets there. He's doing all he can to get under it, not quite getting that elevation. So much about this is that angle from that racket to that front wall. How steep is it? Again, this is just going to be a little bit of an experiment here, but is it around there or is it around there? Are we getting it more with height and elevation? Again, hard to draw that angle here, so it might not be a true reflection. But let me just show you a few more of his. There we go, similar on that middle line. And again, not quite above the line there. And again, I hadn't given him any coaching at this point, and there was things we did afterwards to make it a little bit better. Let me just look at one or two more, but you can see it's pretty consistent in and around that middle line, not getting that ball high up on that front wall. And I'm going to go back a few and we're going to compare and contrast, but you can see what's happening there. So if we just look at myself on the right here, let's have a look at the difference of what I'm trying to do. And I'll break it down technically in a moment. But as I'm getting there, you can see the difference there. There's a lot more elevation in there. Again, let's look at two or three more just to have a bit of a kind of a more of a common ground to work from. Here we go. You can see how I'm getting under the ball. I'm throwing it up. I'm trying to get it up there. Should be going possibly a little bit wider. But those are some good examples, right? So let me go back a little bit and we'll break this down. So use this one here, okay? So I always like to do it when we're making contact. So there's the contact point. Okay, so let's go back to Kai. Let's see what he's doing. Let's go to the maybe second last one. Okay, so as at the contact point, roughly about there. So we're going to tether those two together and we're going to take a little look. This is what I coached about and we try to get a little bit better at. So hopefully you're noticing what's happening there straight away. Look at how severe his racket is compared to mine. You've got a really good technique. I love the way he approaches ball, but for lobbing it, this is not appropriate. It's too aggressive. It's too high, not quite getting the ability to get that racket down and under the ball and then kick it up. There's a long way for him to have to go down to kick that back up. So let's scroll a little bit more and you can just see there the height. Look at the height at that point. There's the top of my racket and there's the top of his racket. Look at that compared to where it is in regard to our bodies. I'm trying to drop things down. I'm trying to get things lower. Another good comparison is the height of, let's use the base of the grip or the hand. So if I'm drawing across there, look at the difference there again as well. So there's a lot more height, isn't there? His is around his stomach area. Mine's around my hip area. So again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make my racket available to get underneath the ball. It's simple. It's as simple as that though. If we can get closer to that, that makes a big difference. So we go to the same point. You can just see there, mine's a little bit easier down there. Kai's swing is a lot going on here. And let's just take a real close look at that. So actually at about there, we're looking quite similar and even. Again, if I was to film this again, which I will do, I would like to film it from this angle to see a few little nuances because you can't quite see it from here. There's something within the follow through I'm going to talk about in a moment. And just as an interesting side point, I was encouraging Kai. I gave him a little bit of coaching and tips. I was telling him to get in behind the ball. But even with that, look at where I am still compared to where Kai is. Not quite in that optimal position. So there's nothing bad with going in behind the ball to throw up a lob because you want to get it around and up and over. But there still probably needs to be a semblance of some sort of side-on position. I am taking the ball out far in front of me, and I think Kai is doing the same. But that's where I'm able to get that elevation. And a lot of this, if you just notice my hand here now, just look at that hand. Look at how I'm turning the racket head almost around and up. And I'm just trying to throw it up into a high position. I actually want to look at just a future one because I think I followed through. I followed through a lot there. And actually a lot of time, the follow through, that might be slightly better. It's more just a turn of the wrist sometimes. It's a little flick and a little paddle of the wrist does a lot of the work. I might not need to have an extended and over-exaggerated follow through to get the lob. So much is about the wrist and the forearm. I'm going to just zoom in there a little bit, see if I can kind of get what I'm trying to get at. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. Look at that turn. Look at how that from there's that little turnaround and there's a pronation in that arm. I'm throwing it up, and the angle of that racket face when I finish is looking at the ceiling. Kai's there. That's quite interesting to see it from there. Now, look at how he's pulling the racket head across the ball, whereas mine is going up. I'm paddling that ball up to that high elevated angle. And I'll zoom right out here. Boom. One of the things I'm going to talk about a lot when I'm doing the lob, and I'll come back to some of the technique. Massive fan of it hitting the front wall at a certain point, but then kicking up and over. It's got to have this little bit of elevation around there. If it can kick up and over, it just lifts it above the opponent. It's hard for them to volley. It pushes them back in the court. But what's really nice, it comes down like a stone in the back corner. It really starts to come down at a steeper angle. And I think that's a very important thing to get right with that lob. We can't see it from this angle, but what I'm trying to aim for, I'm trying to aim for the left-hand edge of the right service box. If you can just visualize that for a moment, just cutting across the left-hand edge. I'm actually not going for the perfect width and trying to get it just below that outline. That's too risky. There's a lot more space going over the left-hand edge of the right-hand box in this part of the court, obviously. I'm going to show you one or two more from me here as well, again, just to kind of show you hopefully what's going on. There's the low hand, quite a neutral swing, nothing's high, nothing's coming across my body, nothing's up there. Let me just make the point of where that ball makes contact there. And it's kind of interesting when I watch this with the pros as well. Some of the lobs, especially on the front of the court, don't hit the high part of the wall, but they kick up. Again, I want to just reinforce that kick up. So let's look at that. Look, it just goes completely out of camera and that ball is hanging in the air now for ages. Again, very similar. That's probably my nicest one so far. Really low, really down, getting under it, doing that little movement there where I'm dropping my racket back, nice open racket face. Again, let's look where it hits that wall. Okay, nice. That is zoomed up. Perfect. I can actually zoom out a little bit more. And there's a real kick up, isn't there? That ball is hanging. And again, we won't be able to see it come down. And actually just noticing that ball there, probably just caught the back nick, but it is rolling quite nicely out. So these are the key things when we're looking to lob. I just want to, again, just make sure we're making the points. I'm going to be fair to Kai. I'm going to maybe use another one just to make sure that we're in the same level. But yeah, look at that. Look at how the racket's going up. He's actually tilting his lead shoulder. That's quite an aggressive position. If you think about that drop of his right shoulder, we can't see it there. That's implying power. We don't need power here at all. If you see my right shoulder, I'm not really tilting it. My left shoulder's not lifting. My right shoulder's not dipping. I'm keeping my shoulders as relatively neutral as possible. Getting there, keeping my body stable, balanced, and flicking under that ball. Let's just see Kai there. Again, the body position a little bit open. Let's have a look at the lunge he's looking at compared to the angle of my lunge and where, in particular, my back foot is compared to his. As he goes down there, he does really well trying to drop his racket. I can't obviously draw towards the camera, but around and down there, try to create a little bit of space behind the ball, but it's too little too late. Can't quite get that. And then when he hits, look at that. That's really interesting how he hits across. And again, that's why I love doing this, because I'm actually noticing things as I do it. He's hitting more cross, whereas, can you get that sense there? As I'm coming down and making contact, I'm trying to go that way. That for me is probably the most telling thing around about getting the elevation, whereas Kai goes across, and I'm just going to get it at the right contact point again, possibly about there. I'll just tether that. Let me just take this away. See, look at that. Look at the kind of the swing parts and the lines, and the heights there are stark, aren't they? Again, let me just be fair to make sure it's at the right contact point. I just be a little bit further forward, right about there. So again, yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? So look at that. Look at that for the height of the top of my racket at pretty much the same point of the swing. That's probably, again, one of the most telling little tips I can show you guys and girls here. So listen, hopefully you're enjoying seeing this. If you can think about your lob in these terms, in these fashions, getting that hand low, getting that elbow low, keeping the racket at relatively neutral positions. I'm always a big fan of practicing this with no ball, ghosting it. There's no distractions of ball. Feel the mechanics of what's going on here. How are you lunging in? How's that follow through going to this position there where it's going more upwards? Do it without the ball lots and lots and lots, and then eventually put the ball in play. But as always, thank you for watching the video. Please do like and share and subscribe to the channel. And if you do want, click on that link in the description, grab your free swing audit, and you'll also see a link for the squash playbook if you're interested in that as well. Okay, take care. Look forward to the next video. Cheers for now.